Well, we're going to need a bigger boat, everybody, because today we're back talking about some epic movie moments here on Wasted Opinions.
When do we talk about the fucking shows and movies? Thanks for the F shot. I don't know, but these arms are chewed off. Show me what you got. We'll drink it if you say.
Welcome back, everybody. Yes, we have done this before. We have done epic movie moments, but there's so many awesome movies out there. We just couldn't stop at one episode. So we're back doing more epic movie moments. What does that mean? It means, maybe it's like a 10-second part of a movie that happens, or it's like a whole long scene that happens, and it just stands out, gives you some goosebumps while you're watching it. You're just on the edge of your seat. You can't get enough of it. But before we get into our epic movie moments, let's do some introductions, starting with the guy down below us. I think it's Craig.
I'm the epic one, MussKeg.
Epic intro.
And I'm LewisLightning with a little tip for all you sexually active men out there. You buy ribbed for her pleasure condoms, then you turn them inside out.
Get two uses out of it, yeah. And I'm CountryBoy. And like I said, we're going to be doing some epic movie moments, but always, like we always got to do, is a shot first. So here we go. Let's take a shot, boys. Cheers.
Cheers.
Let's love you.
And does anybody want to start?
Since no one's talking, what's that?
Not Craig. Okay.
I'll go.
Lewis.
Yeah, okay. I'll go. I'm gonna start with a pretty notable one, and I wanted to name it last time because when we did it the first time, I thought, oh, someone's gonna mention it, and I never got around to it. So I'm going with Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring. I'm sure you guys already know what I'm talking about. The point where Gandalf says, "You shall not pass," and he uses his staff on that bridge to stop the Balrog. That's epic movie moment. Like
the Bridge of Khazad-dûm.
Yeah. I think if anyone, if you were to pick from that whole trilogy, one of the best movie moments, that would be in that list of three. If you pick the top three, that's just an amazing moment. The setting is so good. It's just this big dark cave. Yeah, and then Balrog looks so good. That was just great CG. And Gandalf,
that awesome, just flaming creature. That is so amazing.
And Gandalf is the character that everyone ties to in that movie. Some people might die, but Gandalf was no, he can't die. We need him. We need him as part of this team. Mm-hmm. And it's just so heartbreaking when you think he's gone. Spoiler.
They did a good intro to the Balrog too, because even the visuals of that, where there's that long hallway where it's dark, and then all of a sudden you start to see the red bubbles come in, and then obviously long, tall dwarven stone pillars. That whole sequence leading up, and also good emotionality immediately after too. Probably one of the saddest parts in the trilogy, with when all the hobbits are outside crying on the hill, kind of thing. And I didn't know the story of Lord of the Rings when I watched it the first time either. So
I had no idea that he might come back.
Well,
no idea.
When you were talking about the intro to the Balrog, I think it's great how they're being flooded by goblins and orcs and trolls and stuff, and they're all kind of surrounding them, and then you kind of hear in the background this big noise, and then the light kind of gets brighter and brighter from behind them, and all those orcs and stuff start freaking out themselves and clearing a path. That's amazing. But that was my first pick to put out there.
Epic. Yeah, no, totally. MussKeg, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. I'll go let's go to the galaxy far, far away. Taking you back to the Star Wars film Rogue One. Just want to make sure I got that. I was about to say Rogue Nation almost. Rogue One. The Vader in the hallway scene at the very end, near the end of the movie, which for me was so cool in multiple ways. Let's stop for the obvious reasons first and go with the concept of, it was at that point you're like, oh, wait a second, this is the beginning of Star Wars: A New Hope. That's cool.
Ties right in.
And you're like, oh, that's that's neat. I mean, you knew Rogue One was before, and you had an idea, but the tie-in was really cool. And then
Yeah,
just purely, what was so good about that was, we'd seen Vader in the original trilogy, and he moved like you had to move in those times. They didn't have the CGI, they didn't have the capabilities, so you
yeah,
just had to sword fight the way they did. And then yes, we had Anakin in the prequel trilogy, but you never saw Vader at what I would consider like peak capability, if you will.
yeah.
And is why that whole sequence so cool. The color palette with the darkness and then the red lightsaber as the alarms are going off in the background,
Mhm.
and his combination of like deflecting and throwing people onto the roof, and yeah, just loved it.
It was probably the best example of why people would be terrified of Darth Vader in this
Yeah,
universe. Like we'd seen him, people talk about him as this legendary Jedi or Sith, but you can't see him choke a
totally.
guy. That's about it. You see him like use his lightsaber really slowly. That's about it. Here, it was like a horror movie, like a dark hallway. These guys are like, no, they're pounding on the door trying to get out of there, and he's just throwing them against the wall. He's fucking slinging his lightsaber.
And
It
that
was
slow
amazing.
walk too, like the steady, just slow walk.
Yeah,
Like he's not
yeah,
rushing, he's not concerned. Even the fact that she gets away, he's it's not like it speeds up his pace.
I
So
was gonna,
exactly.
yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think it kind of ties together kind of classic Star Wars and like the new stuff, because to me there was always this weird dissonance between the two, because like in specifically A New Hope, the sword fighting is really really slow. Like when he's fighting
Hmm.
Obi-Wan, they like tap their sabers and there's like a strike
Yeah,
and then that's about it. But by the time you get to like stuff like, I think it's Attack of the Clones where Yoda's just zipping around the room and stuff, you're like,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
completely different. So here you get to see like a
yeah.
more active Vader, and
Yeah,
since it ties into the original, then you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that kind of, he wasn't so awkward in the, like as A New Hope was. Like it kind
yeah,
of feels it.
I read about it too. They had to fight slow and awkward like that because of the way the effects were
He made
running, I
this,
guess.
yeah.
mm,
Yeah, yeah. Cool.
yeah. It's a great epic moment. Absolutely. So I'm gonna go. Mine is gonna be Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I'm a big fan of the that recent trilogy, but I it's not even my favorite of the trilogy, but it had that moment that gave me the goosebumps, where Caesar is in the enclosure with Tom Felton's character, and he's trying to beat him with the baton, and he catches it out of the blue, and he like Tom's like, what are you doing? And he goes, he stands up right up in front of his face, he goes, no, and he finally speaks for the very first time. Like the whole movie, they're just doing sign language. That's the only time that they ever communicate, that you can see them actually are able to understand each other. This is the first time that he actually says in English words, and I did not expect that at all. I know that maybe the sequels, if they did sequels, that would happen. But for him to do it right there and to like stand up against him, be pissed off, it was awesome. I got goosebumps, and I love that scene so much. Yeah,
That was a good one.
I
That,
haven't
that
seen
was
that in
actually my,
forever, so I.
I
yeah,
haven't watched it in a while. That was, I think, still looking back, I think that was actually my favorite of the Planet of the Apes, that trilogy anyways. The other one, 2 and 3 had probably I might need to just rewatch them all again, but I do remember that one being surprised how much I liked it. Maybe that was the reason I went into it not thinking I was gonna. Maybe I just had higher expectations for the other ones. I know I definitely did for the third one with Woody Harrelson. So
mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't have really much expectations for it, so I was super happy when I saw
it
that
was less
movie because it
actiony
blew me away.
comparatively, I guess, than the
The second one had a lot of action in
you
it.
compared to the second and third.
Oh,
It was
oh
the
yeah,
second.
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. So back to Lewis, I guess.
I'm gonna go with one. I think I've mentioned this movie before, maybe not. But either way, it's a great film. My favorite western of all time, Tombstone. Uh, Towards the end of the movie, there's a big. Oh yeah, there's a big standoff with Doc Holliday and Johnny Ringo. Actually, Johnny Ringo was expecting Wyatt Earp to show up because he challenged him to like a little, duel 1-on-1. But Doc Holliday, he's ailing throughout the movie, he's suffering from tuberculosis.
Burke.
Yeah, and he shows up, and Johnny Ringo instantly kind of like all his smarm and confidence just drops because Doc Holliday is the
Yeah.
gunslinger there, and there's some.
Well,
What are you gonna say?
I was gonna say, well, he was just fooling. He was just kidding about.
Yeah, but yeah, Doc Holliday is just he's got all the confidence in the world, and he's just got his guns ready, and it's over in a snap, obviously. But
I'll be
just
Huckleberry.
yeah, that whole movie builds up to that moment, or those two, that rivalry builds up to that moment.
Because it starts off with their whole like encounter in the casino or like at the poker, right?
Yeah,
And he's got his like little gin cup that he's doing his spins
spins.
and everything with.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like throughout the movie, Doc Holliday is a capable fighter. He's just taking guys out left and
But
right.
it's also kind of like it's got that coolness to it because there was like a part just before that where Wyatt Earp thinks he's gonna have, like you mentioned, is gonna have to face Johnny Ringo, and he's like talking to Doc Holliday. He's like dead in his bed basically, and he's like, I can't beat him, can I?" He's like, "No." So it just
Yeah,
kind of emphasizes how important Doc Holliday is. Yeah.
It's a movie I hadn't seen in like 25 plus years. So I'd have to rewatch it to remember any of that.
uh,
It's all going
Yeah.
over my head right now. I
well,
got to rewatch
if
that.
you ever want to watch it, let me know. I can watch it with
I'll
you.
absolutely borrow it if you got it. Yeah, for sure.
I was watching when we were in Maui last time. It was great.
But yeah, that's my
You
pick
want to
there.
go next?
Sure, yeah. I'm gonna go with from the uh first Matrix movie. My favorite part, first Matrix movie, it just in general, um, has tons of epic moments, and you could pick any single one. Neo versus the Agent Smith at the end, Neo in the subway, Neo, realizing what he can do. Even
The
it just
lobby scene is I've rewatched the lobby scene I don't know how many times.
Yeah, the lobby scene is what a lot of people go to, but for me, the scene
Okay.
I always look forward to and I always hope I don't miss it if I catch it on TV or something, is the fight sequence between Neo versus Morpheus when they're training in the dojo, and
I know
you
kung
know
fu. Show me.
Neo and Morpheus are fighting, so everybody's rushing to do this kind of that. Oh, I got my thumbs up thing again. That was probably my favorite sequence in that movie, and it's good visuals. Cool concept. It really showed the idea of what the Matrix was, right? Loading program. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
Always like when Morpheus like goes and lands and puts his foot through
yeah.
the
Stomps it through the floor there.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
like if you've never seen the Matrix trilogy at all, like that's the one movie you should watch out of all
Yeah,
of
you
them.
don't even need to watch the other ones. Honestly,
It stands on its own. It does. It stands on its
yeah,
own.
the other
It
ones
does.
almost take away from it. If they just made the Matrix on its own, it would have been yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really need to see Zion and all that stuff. It does kind of take away from it.
Well,
It does.
wasn't it shown briefly in this first movie where like they have like a big rave thing going on? Isn't that
Yeah,
Zion or that?
That's in the second one.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
must
I
have
always
mixed that.
remember because of the MTV Movie Awards intro, where it's like Sean William Scott and Justin Timberlake are going around and they're in the Matrix. They're at that place and Andy Dick's there. It's like it's an orgy. Awesome. We love you to
If
death.
if I had to pick my favorite moment though from the trilogy, it is from the second movie with the highway speed chase. I thought that was just brilliantly done. But you know what? The first movie is the best movie, so I don't even need to touch the Matrix Reloaded, second
Yeah.
one. So I'm gonna go with one of my favorite movies, Jurassic Park, and it's another movie. It's another movie that has those epic moments. Like you could go the first time that you see the brachiosauruses and they like turn their heads and like Alan Grant and Sadler are staring up for the first time and they're just like in awe. You could do that. You could do the moment where what's his face Nedry gets killed by the Dilophosaurus and spits him in the face. But the moment that again gave me goosebumps was when the rippling of the water starts happening inside the cup, and then you're like, maybe that's the sound of the power turning back on, and then you see that the goat's gone. Like, what happened to the goat?
You're like,
Lands on top of
where's the goat?
car, and then you see the dinosaur, the T-Rex, chomp it back, and its hand is on the fence, and then right away you just see the fence start, and T-Rex just steps out, and it's raining, it's pouring, and the old man is not snoring because it is gonna get shit crazy going on here because he just attacks. He goes for the guy in the freaking bathroom when you gotta go, and then he attacks the kid's SUV because they got the light. That whole sequence is just epic. Like, that is what I strive to see in a movie. Every time I go to see a blockbuster movie, that is the type of stuff that I want to go and see.
Well, there's two things.
Yeah.
Two things I was gonna say is that first, I think you missed the part where a part of the goat falls onto the roof, like the sunroof of the vehicle. That happens at some.
I said that maybe I didn't come.
You said
through.
he wolfs it back, but you didn't say about that.
Yeah,
that part.
I said a part of the goat landed on. Maybe I misspoke, but that's what I tried to say.
And then, not related to this scene, but you were saying about how Ellie Sadler and Graham were looking at the Brachiosauruses. Like, well, I like that moment because at first she's not actually looking. It's Graham sees it, and she's like, I don't know, in a brochure or a pamphlet or something. She's looking
at some leaves.
He just reaches over and grabs her head and turns her to the side.
Yeah. She's looking at some foliage. She's like, this hasn't been seen in how many years is this foliage? Or he's like, turns her fucking head.
Yeah.
Like, look at this.
But yeah, it's a great scene. Like I love it all. Like the one thing that kind of stands out to me about that is the guy on the toilet. Just because the T-Rex collapses the whole bathroom, but it's just almost comical in a way how it's just him on a toilet. It's like, really? That's the only thing that survived?
Spielberg's great at those epic moments. In the history, so
I could probably do a whole Spielberg list if I wanted to.
You could spiel on Spielberg.
Spielberg.
Yeah, but a list specifically on movies he directed or produced.
Sure,
not both.
I could do both. You're up there, Lewis.
I'm gonna go with another really famous one that I feel bad about leaving off our first video when we covered these. Saving Private Ryan. Easily the most notable scene is the taking the beachhead on the beach when they're storming that. Like it's more than one scene. I'll give you that because it's so long. It's like the first, I don't know, how would you say, 10 minutes long or whatever. They're trying to get on the beach, but it starts with them all. It starts with them all in that landing craft, and they're just kind of sitting there solemnly. Some guys start like throwing up just from being nervous to whatever, right? And then you start seeing like them getting picked off and stuff, and then like that first ship, you see the drawbridge or whatever thing kind of come down, and that I think the first ship, like everyone gets wiped out on. It looks that way, like at least the front half of it, just get riddled by machine gun fire and they're dead like instantly. Guys are hopping in the water and they're getting shot up and they're just trying to get their gear off because they're too heavy and they're drowning there. The guys that do get through the beach are like going to those big tines or whatever, those big blocking things, those big metal tank blockades, and there's explosions going off, and there's that part where the guy's like walking around because I think was it Tom Hanks is shell shocked and he's looking around and he sees like a guy missing an arm and he's trying to grab one on the beach, and it's just like that has been parodied so much. Yeah. And then
the one you mentioned that, I think of the guy dragging his buddy, like
half a buddy,
but it's half of a buddy basically. He doesn't know that he's like missing his entire.
And then, it ends up with them trying to take out that one pillbox so they can actually like be safe on the beach, like everyone else is coming on there. And they huck grenades in there, right? I think, or do they flamethrower it? Okay,
they do.
But
it's speaking of Spielberg, there you go, another Spielberg movie.
I mean, I think that is the most noteworthy movie or moment of that movie, and that's in like the first 15 minutes of the movie itself. You watch that.
That one is a tough one for me. Not that like it is an epic movie, but for me that's almost like an entire scene, like an entire. That's like a whole sequence too.
Yeah.
So
we're including them.
Oh no, I know, but well then
don't have to poo-poo his pick.
I'm not poo-pooing. I took the whole Darth Vader scene.
Yucking his yum over there.
I was like, that was like 30 minutes was taking the beach there. So.
Yeah, you can't pick one specific moment of it. It's just all that good.
I mean, you could. I think all those moments are equally good, but
yeah, for sure. What you got there, Mr. Krager?
I'll go with a little bit more recent. Get MCU, very well known for many awesome moments. So I'm sure I could pick one for every single movie or even every single episode we do this. But I'm gonna go with one more recent one, from the movie Deadpool and Wolverine.
Okay.
What's epic about that movie?
I always get it wrong if it's Deadpool and Wolverine or Deadpool versus Wolverine.
It's ampersand.
Yeah.
Mentioned that in a video that one time.
Yeah, the last time. But anyways, I'm gonna go to the moment where there's lots of fights, there's lots of cool ones, and seeing Wolverine in the yellow for the first time was awesome. But I gotta go to the whole sequence of the Like a Virgin prayer sequence, and the reason I say that one specifically is the moment that kicked it off for me when we first see Wolverine with his cowl on. Now I know a lot of people complain about the cowl. I thought it looked great. I thought they did a fine job on it.
For the most
But
part. For the most part,
but
yeah.
they'd had a lot of fight sequences in that movie, so you're like, man, is this just going to be another one of the stabbing punchings and lots of that stuff going on? And it was,
Hmm.
but it had it kicked off with that moment of the cowl reveal, which was awesome, and then the Madonna song used in it and the styling of it, the side tracking shot.
Hmm.
It was pretty epic when I first saw that. I was pretty excited.
Yeah, it was cool. I loved seeing like them going through just the Deadpools, all the different versions of Deadpools, and then the whole time I was thinking like, but they're Deadpools though. Can't they just come back? And then of course they're alive
Hey,
still. Other than the
Well,
nice pool
except
that
for
they
nice
one.
got
pool,
going
yeah.
Except for one.
on.
I
How
really,
long does your regenerative healing powers take? Regenerative what?
Blood that coming out of his mouth.
yeah.
He like
But
stops out at one point in like the with the machine gun. He stops with them in the middle of the road.
yeah, but I really
Uh,
expected that baby at the end because like when they're all through, there's like one baby Deadpool sitting on a. Was he on the street or was he? I remember him being on like a
well,
Oh,
postal box.
he in a
it
car
was
maybe?
him and Headpool, wasn't it? Him and the head one, wasn't it? Were they together?
I don't recall, but I just remember the baby's laughing and you're like, "What's so funny?" And then that's when you see all the other ones regenerating and
Oh,
standing up. But
Mhm.
I was
Okay.
like, "Are they really gonna kill a baby in this movie?"
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty dark. It's probably one of the rules that Disney would have had.
Hey, but Kidpool didn't survive that apparently.
Yeah,
I mean,
I guess.
initially regenerated, but
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna go with so I think I tend to like the first movie has like the most epic moments for when it comes to like a franchise and stuff like that. It might not be my favorite movie of the franchise, but it has that first epic feel because it's the first time I'm seeing this. So I'm gonna go with John Wick, the very first John Wick, even though it's probably my third favorite, honestly, out of the John Wick movies. But I'm gonna go. Oh, four is easily the best now. But I'm gonna go John Wick when he's in the red circle and he's after the bathhouse. He's going after that the dude that killed his dog and stole his car and all that stuff. The dude from Game of Thrones. He's after
yeah.
him and he's just precision like shooting guys in the dance the club scene and everybody's still like dancing around him. He's still like fighting, shoot. Like, his shots, like every shot is a hit. It's a hit. And then he like falls off the balcony at one point. It's just an awesome sequence, and it just every movie since then has had something like that, but they've amplified it even more every time. And I mean, the fourth movie, it just the whole movie is just freaking balls to the walls. But this was the scene in that movie that I freaking loved, and it kicked off a franchise that I adore.
Yeah, that's my favorite John Wick one. I mean, and that scene's cool because of all the visuals and everything like that. I mean, the intro in the house was pretty fun when the hit squad's coming to take him out. I
Yeah,
appreciated that one quite a bit. It didn't have the visual flair like does, but yeah, that's great. I don't know if I'm trying to think what I would call my favorite part in that movie. That'd be easily top three for me, if not one.
I,
So
I haven't seen any of them,
yeah,
so I can't comment. So that's I'm shut up here.
yeah. It doesn't like Keanu Reeves, this guy.
In certain
uh,
roles, like Matrix is fine,
yeah.
but
Point Break.
Have you seen him in Bram Stoker's Dracula?
I know where the bastard sleeps. I brought him there.
He's
I
amazing. He
I
has the best British accent in
I
that
think
movie.
I did, but that was a long time
No,
ago.
it is. Oh
Point Break.
man, he's been
Joe,
lambasted for
speed,
his.
speed.
Yes, he doesn't have a British accent in that movie.
No.
So I think we'll do one more. I think a piece, and then we're probably good for this episode. You guys feel like that's good?
Uh,
I have no
yeah,
idea how
yeah.
we're doing time wise.
We're just over
Yeah,
like
Yeah,
20 minutes here, so yeah, I think we got time for one more each.
sounds
Um,
good. Yeah, let's roll another one.
I'm gonna go with one. I think it's a classic movie, but it seldom gets like brought up a whole lot. It's my favorite James Bond film, GoldenEye.
Mm.
And there's quite a few moments that are actually pretty good in this film. But the scene I'm gonna pick, one of my most what I think is the most epic scene in that film is the tank chase in I can't remember if it's St. Petersburg. It's St. Petersburg because Boris, I can't remember what his name is. The general, the Russian general is Boris something. He's got Natalia, and they get in the car and they're trying to get away. And oh yeah,
Boris is the pen guy.
okay.
I know who you're talking about.
The general. Sorry, I got Boris wrong. You're right. But yeah, they're trying to get away, and like initially Bond is getting pinned down in this like military facility, and he's like in the parking lot area, and he looks around for a way to get out, and he sees a tank. And the next thing you know, there's like the wall of the barracks or whatever. He just busts through with the tank, and he's chasing the car down the street, and all the cops come after him and stuff. But what are the cops gonna do on a tank, right? He literally like crunches some of them. He drives over them. He fucking drives through. There's like a narrow alleyway he goes through. It's like this kind of weird bridge thing. He just plows through that. He plows through a statue.
You drive a tank on your own like that? Like that's
no,
the thing.
no. Well, you could drive it, but you wouldn't really know. Yeah. I think you need a navigator as well. I'm not an expert on that.
I don't think you see inside. You just have the pedals.
I don't think you can single-handedly drive a tank. I don't think that's, at least not one of the ones.
Bond can.
Well, especially the way he's driving. He's got his head popped out there.
He's got training.
Well, that's so you can see his good hair. He had great hair in that scene too.
And then he's firing.
Yeah, he's half out of the thing.
He's firing the fucking turret by the end, which is like, okay, you need someone to load it, the gunner and stuff. Like those are all separate.
He did it with his feet. You just didn't see it.
He's doing the work of 5 different guys in that tank.
But it's epic to see that. Like that's if you got the chance to drive a tank, that's what you would do. You would just plow through everything in the city and just like. It's amazing. Yeah. It's not your typical Bond stuff. Like he's usually a spy or a secret agent, but here it's like no, that's front and center like soldier kind of stuff going on. But I love it. Epic.
Yeah. It is.
Nice.
It is.
Okay, well I'll finish mine off then. Tough. I'm gonna go with a little less of a actiony one. We all know and love the movie Gladiator. Russell was fantastic. Good story, good visuals, fun. And there's lots of obviously action movie sequences in there. The first fight, the Battle of Carthage in the actual Colosseum, etc. But the moment that always got me in that movie was after. I think it's after. Is it after the Battle of Carthage, or is it after he defeats the guy in the one-on-one fight with the mask down? I think it's after the Battle of Carthage. The Emperor comes down and is like, "Hey, who is this, hero gladiator? Please introduce yourself." And he kind of turns away and walks away after trying to be polite. He's like, "Don't turn your back on me." And so he pulls his helmet off and does the whole speech. The realization on Commodus's face that he's alive, and the father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I'll have my vengeance in this. Just the pure hate spilled out in that speech, and the fear from Commodus, and it was just awesome. And that he can't do anything about it. He can't kill him even if he wants to right there. Yeah.
Well, you got the people, they're all on his side, so it's kind of hard to do right there. Yeah.
I can't remember for sure when that takes place, but I want to believe it's after the Battle of Carthage, because when he's fighting that guy one-on-one, that's when they release that tiger as well, right?
Yeah. So they're trying. Yeah, you're right. So it definitely is after the Battle of Carthage, like I thought. Yeah. Because the other guys are out there too. Now that I think about it, the other gladiators are.
I was gonna say, I think I remember when that tiger's out, you see his face, which means he would already had the reveal, right? I just remember him being scared of that thing, so you couldn't see that if he had the mask on.
I can't remember.
It's epic.
I'll go with you guys. Yeah, no, it is. And so my last one is probably one of the most talked about moments in any like movie where it shocks you because you had no idea what was going on. And I'm going to go with a more horror thriller movie. It's The Sixth Sense. So M. Night Shyamalan. This is like his big debut movie that everybody knows about. And it's Haley Joel Osment, the kid that played the the kid in the movie, saw dead people. Brilliant performance. First of all, I watched this a few years ago. Holy shit, that kid did an amazing job. And then just to find out at the end of the movie that Bruce Willis's character, spoiler alert, was dead the whole time. You're like, what the fuck? And then you rewatch that movie, it still makes sense. You're like, it's crazy how well that was done. I watched this with Lindsay for the first time a few years ago. I seen it before, but she had never seen it. She was so blown away, and I loved like seeing it through her eyes. That was so awesome. Seeing it again through someone else's eyes, it was awesome. And not having her not know,
she'd never heard like that.
She I don't know how you can go over 20 years without knowing about the spoiler of this movie, but yeah, she did somehow, and it blew her mind.
That would have been incredible to see.
It was amazing. It was just as amazing as the first time I had seen it, and I still like it is just great performances, and probably I don't know if it's my favorite M. Night Shyamalan, but it is definitely one of the best M. Night Shyamalan movies, even though he's had some up and down. Yeah, no, love that movie, love that moment.
You know,
what's your favorite?
Unbreakable is what I usually go to for my favorite M. Night. But the one thing I'll say about that movie too, and you touched on it earlier, everybody talks about the twist, they talk about the writing and everything, but that's a scary movie. Like the whole like just the concept of being a kid and seeing the dead people always coming to you scared, and like when you think about being the kid when he hears actually I don't think it was him, I think it was his patient, but he hears like the guy speaking in Latin to him all panicked, and you're a kid, you wouldn't understand what this ghost is trying to get from you. It's got the whole like Misha Barton grabbing him from underneath the bed, the little girl. Like
she's poisoned by her stepmom.
Dead people like hanging in the school and everything. It's got
even in his house. Like there's the kid that like blew his head off. Like he shot himself in the head by accident because he was playing with his dad's gun. He's like, "Hey, I want to show you my dad's gun." And he turns his head. And you see like half his head is like missing. You're like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I feel like that movie, like, it starts off scary, but about halfway point where you kind of realize that these ghosts need help, then it's almost more of like a sympathetic, sorrowful movie to me.
Because you're right, it doesn't stay as a horror.
Yes.
Yeah. But I really like the part with the girl that was poisoned. That was the most standout one to me.
That actually stood out to me quite a bit in that part because it was such like a it was like a story in and amongst the story.
Right?
Yeah. She has this videotape of her being poisoned. Basically, it was sick. It was disgusting. But leave on a high note. That's our epic movie moments, version 2, or whatever we're gonna call it. Where can we find you guys? Starting with Mr. MussKeg.
Twitch, Twitter, PSN is MussKeg, and on TikTok is MussKeg.
I'm the LewisLightning. You can find me on Twitch sometimes. Otherwise, you can always find my stuff on YouTube. The LewisLightning. That's all one word.
And I am CountryBoy _9, also known as CountryBoy Niner. A bunch of different places, like on YouTube, where I unbox guys like this. It's the Intergalactic Wrestling Ninja Turtles from the Archie comics, is what that is.
Excited about that.
So I can't wait to unbox that. But so go ahead and check us out. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did like it, hit the like and subscribe. Leave some comments down below. We would appreciate what your favorite epic movie moments are. For now, see you guys later. And then, credits. Ooh.